Have you ever wondered why someone lingers in your mind, no matter how hard you try to forget them? Do you think these persistent thoughts aren't just memories, but rather a reflection of the unhealed parts within you? You're not obsessed with them. You're obsessed with what they awakened in you. If you've ever felt trapped in emotions you can't quite explain, now is the time to look inward. True freedom doesn't come from letting go of someone. It comes from understanding yourself. Like, share, and follow so you don't miss more Keanu Reeves' deep insights that help you discover yourself and find peace from within. No matter how hard we try, memories of that person quietly weave their way into my mind, like a familiar melody playing in the dead of night, like a fleeting scent pulling me back to days long gone. We all believe that we have moved on, left the past behind, but there are moments, undeniable moments, when my heart, no matter how much my mind resists, still falters for a beat. Have you ever felt that way? When you're racing forward on your own path, only for something small, a song, a fragrance, an accidental moment, to make everything pause, dragging you back to what you thought had long faded. It's not an overwhelming pain, not a raging storm of emotions, but a quiet undercurrent, persistent and unrelenting, reminding you that some things, whether you wish to or not, remain etched in your soul. You tell yourself it's just nostalgia, a fleeting attachment to a past that no longer holds meaning. You try to push it away, bury it in work, drown it in distractions, lose it in the chaos of life. You convince yourself that if you stay busy enough, if you give it enough time, one day you'll wake up and realize you've completely forgotten. But then, at an unexpected moment, when you think you've found peace, their name echoes in the depths of your subconscious once more. And the strangest thing is, sometimes their presence is no longer about them at all. It's not about who they are now, but about you, about the emotions left unresolved, about the imprints time has carved into your soul. It may be a part of yourself that you have yet to let go of, a corner of your heart still clinging to unsaid words, unfinished emotions that never found closure. You might think you need to forget, but if you allow yourself to listen closely, you may realize that forgetting isn't what matters most. What truly matters is understanding yourself, understanding what your heart is trying to tell you. Because sometimes what haunts us isn't the person themselves, but the pieces of ourselves we've never confronted, the emotions we've never fully allowed ourselves to feel. Nothing surfaces in the subconscious without reason. Every thought, every image that appears in our minds carries a meaning, a message our soul is trying to communicate. If someone continues to occupy your thoughts, it's not simply because they are a memory. It's because they symbolize something much greater. The subconscious is a vast terrain, storing everything we've ever experienced. Unhealed wounds, pure joys, lingering emotions. Some things are neatly tucked away in the drawers of memory, but others keep finding their way back, repeating in our minds over and over, until we finally pause and listen. You might believe that if you could just find a satisfying explanation, a complete closure, those thoughts would disappear. Or you might think that if you stay busy enough, distracted enough, you will eventually forget. But the irony is, the more you try to suppress them, the stronger they resurface. What we resist persists. The thoughts you try to push away are not meaningless. They're signals of what has yet to be understood, fragments of your soul still searching for their place. So, the real question isn't why you still think of them, but what they reflect about you. Because sometimes, the people who haunt our thoughts the most aren't significant because of who they are, but because they unknowingly touch a part of us that we've never truly faced. Have you ever wondered, what if the people who linger in our minds do so not because they're special, but because they're mirrors reflecting something hidden within us? A shadow, an unspoken longing, a part of ourselves we have yet to name? Pause for a moment and reflect. What if the reason you can't stop thinking about them has nothing to do with them at all? What if they are merely a reflection, an echo of something deeper within you, something your mind is trying to understand? We don't see people exactly as they are. We see them through the lens of our own experiences, wounds, and unspoken desires. In other words, We don't just perceive others, we unconsciously project parts of ourselves onto them. This is one of the most powerful psychological mechanisms that shape human relationships. We carry something buried, a deep insecurity, an unmet need, a suppressed part of ourselves, and unknowingly place it onto another. And we mistake our fascination for a person as being about them, when in reality, we're drawn to what they awaken within us. They stir an emotion, a longing we have never fully named, a part of ourselves we have never clearly seen. Have you ever admired someone so intensely that you couldn't explain it? Felt drawn to them in a way that seemed beyond your control? Perhaps it wasn't because they were extraordinary, but because they unknowingly touched a part of your soul, a part you had never allowed yourself to face. Maybe you're captivated by them, not because they're special, but because they embody a part of you that you have denied, suppressed, or long forgotten. Maybe they possess a confidence you secretly wish you had, but never dared to express. Maybe they live freely, unapologetically, something you've always yearned for, but never had the courage to pursue. And so, your mind fixates on them. Not because they hold the answers you seek, but because they remind you of the voids within yourself. But there is another side to projection, the shadows. The parts of us we don't want to see. The wounds we deliberately ignore. Sometimes, the people who linger in our minds the longest are the ones who have hurt us the most. We replay conversations, relieve the pain, analyze every detail, as if searching for something we might have missed. This obsession is not about them. It is about you, about something within you that has been triggered, a wound that has been reopened, a fear that has been awakened. And until you truly recognize that, your mind will keep circling, searching for answers, until you finally pause and ask yourself, what does this person represent within me? What qualities do they possess that strike a chord? What emotions do they awaken in me that I have never fully faced? Because the truth is, these thoughts will not stop until you stop searching externally and start looking inward. The person you are fixated on is not the answer. They are merely a reflection. And that reflection is desperately trying to show you something important. Sometimes, these attachments, these lingering thoughts, are not just projections. They're tied to something much older, something that has quietly shaped how you connect with people long before you ever met them. It is here that we begin to uncover the deeper forces at play. Archetypes, the universal patterns that dictate who we connect with, why we are drawn to certain individuals, and why some figures refuse to leave our minds. Not all thoughts are just thoughts. Some run deeper, tracing back to patterns that existed long before we were even aware of them. Have you ever wondered why certain people leave such a profound mark on your mind? Have you ever questioned why some people pass through your life like a fleeting breeze, while others linger, impossible to forget? Why do some connections feel like destiny, as if you and this person were meant to cross paths? These things are not random. The deepest attachments we form are not solely about the person themselves, but also about archetypes, universal blueprints buried deep in the human psyche. Archetypes are like invisible designs that shape how we see the world, how we love, how we bond. They're the silent forces pulling us towards certain people while pushing us away from others. And among the most powerful archetypes are the anima and animus, the unconscious feminine in a man's mind and the unconscious masculine in a woman's mind. When someone keeps appearing in your thoughts, it may be because they have awakened something deep within you, something you're not even consciously aware of. Think back to the people you have been most drawn to in your life. Do they share certain similarities? Do they evoke the same kinds of emotions in you? This is not a coincidence. Your unconscious mind has been shaping these attachments for a long time, even if you didn't realize it. Some people enter our lives not because they're more special than others, but because they embody something we're searching for, whether we are aware of it or not. There are people who carry an uncanny sense of familiarity, as if we have known them forever, even if we have only just met. They do not just walk into our lives. They stir something within us. Old wounds, unresolved conflicts, fears buried so deeply that we had long forgotten they were there. This is why certain people haunt our minds, even after they are gone. They are not merely a memory. They are a mirror reflecting what still lingers within us. Love or obsession is not truly about the person we fixate on. It is about what they represent in our minds. This is why some bonds seem to transcend logic, carrying a mysterious weight that feels beyond explanation, as if they hold a meaning we have yet to grasp. And perhaps in a way they do, because whether we realize it or not, each of us is searching for something through others, fulfillment, understanding, or healing. But there is another side to these attachments. Sometimes, the people who consume our thoughts do not do so because they give us what we need, but because they reflect what we lack. They may symbolize a part of ourselves we have not yet accepted, a strength we have denied, or a confidence we have always craved but never allowed ourselves to embody. They do not merely appear in our lives. They carve themselves into our minds, our emotions, the hidden corners of ourselves we have tried to keep in the dark. The memories of them are not just recollections. They're a part of us, parts we have never truly confronted. We have never allowed ourselves to receive the love we have not yet fully given to ourselves. And until we understand that, until we recognize that they're only a reflection of what we have been avoiding, our minds will hold on to them, try to decipher something that was never just about them in the first place. But deeper than psychological patterns, deeper than attachment, lies something even more powerful: unhealed wounds. These are the silent fears that shape our emotions, the unconscious patterns that keep us trapped in the past. And until we face them, until we truly examine why someone remains lodged in our minds, we will continue searching for answers in the wrong places. Some thoughts do not just linger. They cling, pulling us back to places we thought we had left behind. We try to let go, to move on, but there seems to be an invisible thread still tying us, making us wonder, making us remember what we thought had long faded. But here is something most people do not realize. The reason we cannot stop thinking about someone is not because of who they are, it is because of what they have touched within us. What we try to bury is what ends up controlling us. That is why some people leave an imprint so deep. It is not just that they walked into our lives, but that they touched a wound we had never dared to face. They have stirred something we have carried all along, perhaps a fear of abandonment, a wound of rejection, or a longing for validation we never even realized we were holding on to. And when someone brings that part of us to the surface, when they pull those old wounds back into the light, our minds latch onto them. Not because they are extraordinary, but because our souls are trying to heal. Think about this. When a physical wound is left untreated, the pain persists as a reminder that something is wrong. Emotional wounds work the same way. If you cannot stop thinking about someone, it may be because some part of you is still in pain. Perhaps they left without explanation, and your mind keeps replaying every moment, trying to find closure. Or maybe they made you feel like you were not enough, and now you are trapped in an endless cycle of proving something. Not to them, but to yourself. Sometimes, certain people remind us of something we've been avoiding. The mind doesn't cling to people. It clings to unfinished emotions, unspoken words, unresolved pain. And until we confront the root of it, our thoughts will keep circling back, trying to find answers to what the heart has yet to fully understand. The answer does not lie in obsessing over a person, but in the journey inward, tracing the source of the pain, understanding why the wound exists, and ultimately giving ourselves what we have always sought from someone else. So what is it? What is the wound hidden beneath these thoughts? Is it the longing for connection, the fear of being forgotten, or a part of ourselves that we have never truly accepted? Because as long as we keep asking why they won't leave our thoughts, instead of asking what within us is still hurting, those thoughts will never truly fade. And here's the hardest truth to accept. Sometimes, the person we can't stop thinking about is merely a distraction, a way to avoid the real work we need to do. And that work was never about them. It has always been about us. Because the moment we dare to face the wound, we realize that this isn't just about relationships. It is about the reflection of the parts of ourselves we've been too afraid to confront. The moment we recognize that these persistent thoughts were never truly about them is the moment we begin to reclaim control over our minds, our hearts, and our peace. But before we can let go, before we can truly free ourselves, there is something even more important to understand: the hidden shadow within us, the darkness in our souls, the part we've ignored, buried beneath relationships, beneath relentless thoughts of people who should no longer matter. This is the shadow self, the concealed part of us, holding everything we have ever denied, rejected, or refused to acknowledge. And whether we realize it or not, this shadow controls our thoughts, our emotions, and even the attachments we believe we cannot release. So what if the person we can't stop thinking about isn't there because of love or because they're special, but because they're exposing a part of us that we have been too afraid to face? Jung believed that the people who affect us most deeply do so not because they are extraordinary, but because they awaken the most hidden parts of our souls, the parts we have buried for so long without realizing it. The ones who leave the deepest marks on us, the ones we cannot seem to forget, are often those who force us to confront ourselves in the most raw and unfiltered way. Sometimes, it is not their presence that holds us, but the way they awaken something inside us, something that has been dormant for far too long. Have you ever wondered why certain people evoke such intense emotions within you? Some make you feel small, abandoned, unworthy, or desperate for validation. Others make you feel alive, inspired, as if you finally found someone who truly understands you. But this impact does not come from who they are. It comes from what they reflect within you. They stir something that has always existed inside you, waiting to be recognized. Perhaps the person you can't stop thinking about represents a part of you that you once rejected. They may possess the freedom, confidence, or emotional depth that you denied in yourself. Or maybe they unknowingly touched a wound you never dared to admit was still bleeding. And that is why some people haunt us. They are a mirror, reflecting what we have not yet faced within ourselves. Unless you integrate your shadow, acknowledge and accept the parts of yourself you have denied, you will remain trapped in a cycle of longing, attachment, and obsession. Your subconscious will continue placing mirrors in front of you, using others as reflections until you finally understand what it wants you to see. So ask yourself, what is this person reflecting back at me? What about them evokes such a strong emotional reaction? Do they awaken a part of me I have never admitted? Or do they touch an old wound I have been avoiding? The moment you stop focusing on them and start looking within, seeking to understand what they represent in you, everything changes. That is when you realize the most important truth. Freeing yourself is not just about understanding your shadow, but about learning how to stop letting it control you. And this is the beginning of something far deeper, a journey of self-awareness, a path to reclaiming your mind, your emotions, and your identity. If you've made it this far, perhaps you've already sensed a profound truth. The person you cannot forget is not just a person. And the only way to truly free yourself is to uncover the lesson your subconscious has been trying to teach you all along. Perhaps they awakened a deep longing within you, a need to be loved, to be seen, to feel connected, one that you never truly granted yourself. Maybe they unintentionally exposed a wound you had long denied, a pain that never fully healed but was merely buried beneath the strong facade you built. Or perhaps they embodied a part of you that you had suppressed for so long, a part of yourself desperately waiting to be acknowledged. But letting go does not mean denying any of this. On the contrary, the key to truly moving forward is to embrace it all, to integrate these pieces into yourself rather than trying to push them away. Reclaim the parts of you that you unconsciously placed in their shadow. Heal the wounds they inadvertently revealed. Acknowledge the truth that, from the very beginning, they were never the source of all these emotions. The reason you can't stop thinking about them isn't because they were extraordinary. It's because you gave them ownership over a part of your soul. And the only way to truly move forward is to take it back, to return it to where it belongs within yourself. This is the essence of self-reclamation. The journey to becoming whole is not about wandering in search of missing pieces in someone else, but about finding them within yourself. So instead of asking, why can't I stop thinking about them? Try asking, what part of me needs to be reclaimed? Instead of trying to forget, seek to understand. Instead of waiting for closure from the outside, create it for yourself. Because the moment you stop seeing them as the answer is the moment you realize that the power to move forward was never in anyone else's hands. It was always in yours. And that's when everything changes. When you no longer lose yourself in the illusion that someone else holds the key to your peace, you come to an important realization. The person you've been searching for was never them. It was always you. There will come a time, a specific moment, when you realize that your thoughts no longer truly revolve around them. The memories, the longing, the unanswered questions, they were never really about them. They were merely fragments of a path, guiding you, piece by piece, back to yourself. In the end, what matters most is not who entered your mind, but what they reflected back to you. These persistent thoughts were never meant to bind you. They were meant to help you understand yourself, to reveal the wounds that need healing, and to remind you of the parts of yourself you had forgotten. You don't need to search for answers in anyone else. Everything you're looking for has always been within you. Thank you for taking the time to explore this with me today. If this resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments. What part of this video made you reflect the most? Don't forget to like, share if you found it valuable, and subscribe so you don't miss more content designed to help you grow in mind and in life. Keep going on your journey, and remember, you are the answer you've been searching for.